Hi friends, thank you for tuning in to the Concussion Coach Podcast. I'm Bethany Lewis, the Concussion Coach. I'm a neurological occupational therapist and certified life coach, and I specialize in guiding people through their concussion recovery journey. I am passionate about helping people understand their injury, speed up their recovery, and reclaim control over their life post-concussion. The purpose of this podcast is to help increase awareness of concussions and the impact they can have on a person's life, and to bring hope to people who have suffered a concussion and those who love them. I firmly believe that sharing stories and knowledge about concussions will bring important light and understanding to this misunderstood and often invisible injury. The information in this podcast is meant to bring that awareness and hope and is not meant as medical advice. The opinions shared are those of the interviewees and my own. If you are suffering with lingering concussion symptoms, I have created a concussion coaching program specifically for you. I will be your mentor to guide you through your recovery journey, offering help with understanding and managing your symptoms, setting achievable goals, and learning how to manage your own thoughts and nervous system in order to get control over your life again. If this program sounds like something that would help you or someone you love, sign up for a free consultation. In the consultation, you'll get valuable information and resources and gain hope for your future. Sign up for your free consultation at the link in the show notes or at my website, www.theconcussioncoach.com. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Concussion Coach Podcast. I am excited for my conversation with my guest today. His name is Jackie Lithgow. Actually, I'm not even sure how to pronounce it. How do you say it?
Yes, Jackie Lithgow, like the actor John Lithgow. I don't think there's any relation, but it is pronounced Lithgow. Yes.
Let's go. Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's good to know. And I was introduced to Jackie by my friend Shannon. So shout out to Shannon Clark. She was very inspired by his story, and suggested that I reach out. So I'm grateful for her introduction of us and the chance to get to know you, Jackie. So I'm going to read her bio here. My name is Jackie Lithgow, and I'm a severe traumatic brain injury survivor, advocate, and nonprofit founder. My journey has taught me that even in life's darkest moments, hope, determination, and purpose can lead to something greater than you ever imagined. I graduated from Boiling Springs High School in Pennsylvania in 2013. Less than a year later, on February 23rd, 2014, my life changed forever when I was assaulted and suffered a severe traumatic brain injury. In 2018, I founded a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting traumatic brain injury survivors, especially those who may not have the same resources, encouragement, or support system that I was fortunate enough to have. In the spring of 2021, I graduated from Bloomsburg University, now Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania at Bloomsburg, with a 3.42 GPA. That is pretty dang impressive. I'm so excited to get to know you today. Thank you so much, Jackie.
You're very welcome.
So why don't we just have you start telling us what happened? Tell us about your injury. It was on the 23rd of February in 2014.
Yeah. So what happened was my parents both went to Bloomsburg. So I chose to go to Bloomsburg as well, not particularly because they went there, but I went to different colleges, but decided that Bloomsburg was the best fit for me. So I went up there and I was at a party, an off-campus party. I don't remember a lot from that night in particular, but from all my friends and people who saw, like, they were witnesses that saw what happened. So what happened was I was I left the party because there was a fight that broke out upstairs. So I left the party and I was walking home and I saw one of my friends getting essentially jumped or beat up on the street. And I went over to help them. And when I went over to help them, I got hit from behind on the side of the head. That coincidentally knocked me over, and then I hit the pavement with my head and my body, obviously. Then I was life flighted to the local Trauma One Center, which was Geisinger, Danville. So I got life flighted there. And then I was there for 9 months, and well, 9 months total. I was in the hospital, and that included Geisinger Medical Center in Danville. And I was there, and then once I was there, I had to I don't know how far you want to go into the medical stuff, but an overview was I was life flighted there, and I was in a medically induced coma for 13 days. So, or no, it was medically induced coma 15 days. And after that, then obviously then I had to go through a bunch of different hospital visits, and then eventually rehab. So
Yeah. Holy cow. That is life-changing, like you said. Like all of a sudden, totally different. So your experience was obviously more than a concussion. It's a traumatic, like more on the, I know that they don't call it these anymore, but moderate to severe TBI. But so you were in the hospital for 9 months, and that included the rehab portion of like getting back on your feet and relearning probably how to do a lot of things.
Yes, yes. So it took me 9 months to get home. So I did time at Geisinger, which is where I initially went, and then after that, I did time at select specialty, and I did the LTAC there, which is I do believe speech and stuff. So, but I was obviously in a coma, but they still did speech with me, and then I went to McGee Rehab in Philadelphia, and then I went to Jefferson Hospital. So I did time in Jefferson Hospital and McGee Rehab. And then, yeah, it took me 9 months to get back home.
Holy cow. And I'm guessing you went back and went with your parents. You didn't go back to school straight away, right?
Correct. Yes, I went back and then I lived with my parents and I was there. And then while I was there, I did outpatient therapy at Penn State Health Rehab Hospital in Hershey. So I was like a 45-minute drive from my parents' house. So I did that um, for a whole year after my injury. So I did that, and then also with doing the Hershey outpatient, I did therapies there were speech therapy, I mean your basics, speech therapy, occupational, physical therapy, and then I also did equestrian therapy, which was interesting. That's
Oh.
riding horses. So well, I didn't ride the horses, but I did therapy on the horse. And that was, I mean, I did that a couple times. And obviously, getting on a horse after you had a brain injury, is quite nerve-wracking. Because of if they buck you off or whatever could happen with that. But I did that a couple times um and then I went to along with that time frame, my doctor told my parents and I that, throw the whole kitchen sink at him. So essentially, that won't hurt him, it'll only help him, right? So I did aquatherapy at a place in Middletown, Pennsylvania, um and then also, I did a couple other therapies. I did piano therapy, music therapy, and I did horticultural therapy, and a bunch of other stuff. So,
Say more about that last one.
horticultural,
Yeah.
yeah. So that
What is that?
was when I was at McGee. I did horticultural therapy, which is more of, um, I could be wrong on this, but I think it's more of um like gardening and stuff like that.
Okay.
I
Like
think
horticulture. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So I actually am loving that you did all these different things. I'd love to hear about how like what was with the equestrian therapy. Let's start with that one. Was that part of the stuff? I think you said it was when you were at Hershey that you were doing the outpatient, like, or the speech OT PT. Was that at the same place, the equestrian
So that
therapy?
yes, so yes and no. So they knew they sent their patients to this organization that did equestrian therapy. Um, and so they hooked, if we wanted to, they said, here's the lady that we work with, their company we work with.
Mhm.
Um, and so we did that. So I did that a couple times, which was unique.
Yeah.
But
Did
yes,
you?
it was through, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, you're good.
It was through the rehab hospital. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Good to know. Did you enjoy it? You said it was a little nerve-wracking, but I've heard good things about equestrian therapy. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I had never been, on a horse up to that time. So I mean, I watch, you know, you like different horse races. I mean, not all the time, but your big ones. So I mean, that has nothing to do with it. But yeah, I mean, I always thought it would be kind of cool to enjoy riding a horse because I know, I have a couple of friends who have people who they know people who ride horses, and I always thought it would be a cool thing to try at least.
Hmm.
So it was definitely unique because at that time, right, I was still working on my balance and my back to get and my neck to get strong enough again. So that definitely, helped with that. I think that definitely worked me out in that sense because there is no seat right on well, I mean, they have the saddle,
Hmm.
but there really is no backing.
Hmm.
So that helped with my strength in my back. And I don't want to say I noticed a whole lot there. I mean, at the time, I don't remember a whole lot from that time, but I'm sure that it helped with my stability in my back.
Yeah. Oh, it's super interesting. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. And then how did you like the aquatherapy and the music therapy and the horticultural therapy? I'm so interested in those things. Sorry, I just have to throw this out there. Like as an OT, maybe this is that lens that I see things through, but really like doing activities that are meaningful to people and that like and pulling in from so many different like senses of like and opportunities to explore. Like it's just there's so much that is good and therapeutic about being in the water, about music, art, like horticulture. Like there's I just love that there's so many things out there that people can access that may be helpful in calming their nervous system and like engaging their fine motor control, like all of the things. Like I can just see there being benefit to all of this. So I love that you tried them all and would love to hear
Yes.
your thoughts on what you got out of each of those. Or if,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So we'll start with horticultural therapy.
Okay.
So at McGee, they had a rooftop where they would take their patients out to um, go on the roof and, get, some sunlight or whatnot. And they had a garden on the roof where uh, their patients could go and you could, plant a flower or plant some type of food or whatnot, right? So then you would essentially take care of that, while you're there, for the time you've been there. So that was neat because I got to, not that I didn't, so with my injury, I lost basically all of my memory. So, I mean, in a sense, so I don't remember technically anything before my injury. Like, I don't remember freshman year. I mean, it was a very short stint, but I don't remember being up at college at all. I mean, but now at the beginning, right? So, I do have glimpse now into that, but I don't know if that's a memory or if that's a memory made from pictures I've seen, right?
Hmm.
So that's where I kind of struggle with that. So we had there were plants and stuff like that up there that we would use. So that was pretty neat, to get my hands um, on plants and soil, right, and stuff like that again. So that was
Hmm.
pretty neat that they had that there.
Had you done something like that before? Or like before, like were you into plants and gardening and things?
I wouldn't say I was into it, but I would help, my mom. It's particularly when I was younger, I would, help in the yard with picking weeds and stuff like that. Because, I enjoyed it and it was something to do,
Hmm.
um, to pass the time. So I wouldn't say that, I love horticultural therapy. I mean, not like that, but I did love the horticultural therapy, but I'm talking about like the plants and stuff. I don't think, I didn't have an interest in having my own plants per se,
Yeah, that's
but it
fair.
was, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. How about the music therapy?
Yeah, the music therapy was cool. And it was unique because when I was younger, I did play the piano for a little bit. I did that. And I like to listen to music like I think most people do. But yeah, I mean, I found that very interesting because they say that, music taps into a different side of your brain or, along those lines. So I found that, that was interesting and cool because so what happened was with musical therapy, she came over, the therapist came over, and we had a piano at my parents' house. So we played the piano. Um, and I played the piano and it wasn't, extreme. I wasn't like Mozart, but, we were playing the piano. Um, and, then she played some songs on my old phone that were songs that I liked, and she wanted to see if she could get a reaction from me. So I did do that, and that was pretty interesting. I don't have a whole lot of memory from that time, but yeah, I mean, it was pretty interesting to do, and I think it helped me. So.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you. Um, and just really fast, the aqua therapy, what did you get out of that one, do you think?
Yeah, so that was pretty it was fun. I will say that. But that was the first time that I actually felt like I was walking again.
Mm,
Because with my injury, I didn't start I was still in my wheelchair when I came home after the 9 months. So they built a ramp at my parents' house, my dad's friends who were in the construction business. They built a ramp in the front of my mom and dad's house to go up to the front door. So I would use that when I was in the wheelchair, use that to get in the house and leave the house. So that was pretty neat. And then, well, that was pretty cool. And then through that, well, back to the aqua therapy. That was the first time I felt like I could walk again because being in the water, it was like chest high. And I think the number is 30% of your body weight or something like that, and is taken off, or you feel like 30% of your body weight. Um, and so they would have me walk. And initially, when I first started, my left side was basically paralyzed. So that was my arm, that was my leg. So the therapist, I went in my wheelchair. They pulled me in the wheelchair, and then they had parallel bars. They stood me up at the parallel bars, and I would try to walk, and slow move my feet in the beginning. And the therapist, I remember in the beginning, would have to move my left foot. There were two therapists in with me, and the therapist would have to move my left foot with their foot, to
mhm,
help to get me to go again, and to kick in that, you know um, the natural uh, reflex. And so he did that for a while. And then after that, because I can move my right one, but the left one was a little bit slow. Um, so he moved that one, and then in time, that got better. And I remember in time, then I eventually learned how to walk in the water, obviously with the body weight taken off, 30% or whatever the number is. And then, so that was easier for me, to learn how to walk again was in the water. So I walked in the water, and I remember, after I walked in the water, I went to my parents and said, I feel like I can walk again, right? And it was so amazing to me to have that feeling back because that was taken away from me because of the injury. So that was unique, and I do remember that, and I do remember that feeling, and it was one of the feelings that I'll always remember, right? And
Mm.
unfortunately, what I went through, but knowing learning how to walk again, that was pretty special. So I did learn how to walk again in there, and then I remember the last therapy I had in there. He turned on the therapist, turned on. So what was interesting was it was like a treadmill, in the water, and it was originally used for horse therapy.
Hmm.
So they turned it into now using it for patients who need to relearn how to walk or are athletes who can use it, to use it to help get better if they're going through recovery or what have you. So that's how it all started. So it was like a treadmill under the water that I was on, and then obviously they would when I could walk again, they would start me off slow at a slow pace, and then eventually graduate from move the parallel bars, and then eventually no parallel bars, and the whole progress of that. And then on the last day, they at that point I didn't need the parallel bars, so there are no parallel bars, and then he said, okay, we're gonna start running. So on the last day, I remember I was sprinting in the water pool. So that was pretty cool.
That is so cool. Oh, I love that so much. It is so, I don't know. I just as a therapist, it just makes my heart so happy to hear like that progression. And it is such a like these things that may seem like little things are such a big thing when you are the one going through it and trying to like relearn stuff. It's just so exciting. I can't even imagine, yeah, like you were saying, like that feeling of being able to do it again. Like what an amazing thrill and awesome experience that would be. But I'll just tell you for your therapist, I'm sure they were so excited too. Like it's just
Yes.
so fun to see people progress and like relearn. It's so awesome and so inspiring and just like I always am so impressed with the people who are like determined to do it. It's hard and they do it anyway. Like it's so inspiring. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing the details of those with us. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Um, yeah, that's so awesome. So, um, at what point did you decide that you wanted to go back to school?
Yeah, so it was after, so I think it was kind of during the end of my therapies, at it was basically, I'd say, at the end of my outpatient therapy.
Mm,
I kind of wanted, I kind of figured, okay, yeah, I always had the itch, to say, to learn more and to do more.
mm,
And I understand, college isn't for everybody, and I'm not saying everybody has to do college, but I mean, I was going to college, before my injury, and I just kind of wanted to get back to that. And I wanted to, excel. I wanted to get a degree and hope that would excel me in my professional, career.
mm.
Um, so yeah, I think, I wanted to finish what I started, in a sense. So, um, I remember I reached out. Well, my parents helped me as well, and we reached out to the school, and there's a whole lot that we talked about, and then there's a lot that they helped me with. So I don't know how deep you want me to get into it, but when
You
I
could,
yeah.
oh, I was gonna say you can just share. Like I would love to hear. Like we don't need to go super deep, but I would love to hear some of the things that you found helpful as accommodation wise, or like what, yeah, those kinds of things. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so when I went back, I worked with the accommodations team up there. I
Mhm.
also there was a program at the school I went to called Trio SSS, which was Trio Student Support Services. So I worked with them, and they helped me I got my accommodation. I had to get my accommodations first, through the accommodations team, because the Trio SSS, they couldn't give you accommodations. So they could only help you with accommodations so I shouldn't say that. So they could give accommodations like when I was there, I was able to take my tests in a separate room. They set me up in a separate room. And then also, with that, I mean, they took my phone and stuff, so I just couldn't use that. But uh, they set me up in a separate room, and then with the accommodations I got, I was able to get extended time, just because it takes me a little longer to do things now, which I found is now my new normal. But that's okay. And then also, with the accommodations that I got, with my vision, it was impacted with the injury. So it was pretty bad initially, but it got to the point, where I only needed it for distance. So I got they accommodations gave me to sit in the front row. So I sat in the front row of all my classes, and people probably thought I was the teacher's pet because I was always going, I was always meeting with the professors because I had to give them my accommodation sheet, but also, and I try and tell this to people going through college now or any schooling, right? Is get to know your teachers because they're people too, right?
Yeah.
And they probably may have families and they have a life outside of teaching, right? I mean, my dad was a teacher, so maybe that's where I kind of get it from. But yeah, but I got to know, my professors, and even went out to breakfast and get coffee with a couple of them. And because I took the time out, and I think they appreciate it, right? Too, is because I took the time out of my time, my day to go and talk to them and see them, but then also get to know them.
Mhm.
So I do think that helped as well. But with that, my accommodation was I got to sit in the front seat. And so it was like kind of like a sign for me, even though it wasn't. And then also a bunch of different other accommodations that I got to use. But it was nice just to go to a separate room, right, where I'm not. So I did try to take the class in the classroom with other students and stuff like that, and it just was overwhelming for me because
Mhm.
it was a lot of different things that were going on in the classroom. I mean, you obviously have your kids, you have your professor and whatnot, but it was just a lot for me at that time.
Mhm.
So then I went and talked to the people at Trio who I worked with, and they said, okay, well, we can give you your own room and all this stuff. So that was very helpful.
Yeah, thank you. That's good. Good to just know what kinds of things helped and that people can be aware of our options if they need them. That yeah, extended time definitely a big deal, and a separate place to be able to sometimes just to go if a classroom is overwhelming, but also for testing and things like that. That's good. And I'm sure every school is probably slightly different, but those are general things that I think people could ask for. And I love your advice to get to know the teachers. I think that's so good. Just as a general principle, like yeah, I think that's good. It's very cool. So what did you end up studying? What did you, and was it the same thing that you started with?
So no is the quick answer, and then I'll go into
Okay.
that. So whenever I went to when I was there to begin, I did just change my major before I got injured. So my uh, the major I had before I got injured was I changed to digital forensics. So that is like, you watch CSI and all these crime shows. That's the person who's like the tech person, right? So that's the person who hacks into the phones, and I mean for good purpose, right?
Right. Yes.
But that's that person. So I was like, okay, so that was before I got injured. So when I went back, um, I took an intro to that class, intro to digital forensics, and I went to that class and I was so lost and confused. I remember after the class, I called my mom and I was crying on the phone because I was like, maybe college isn't for me anymore, right? And I was like, maybe, this isn't what I need to do right now, right? Maybe I need to take more time off or what it may be. And, she kind of calmed me down and she said, okay, well, go talk to your advisor, right? And see if they can help you. I'm sure they'll help you out. So I went and talked to my advisor at Trio and she said, okay, well, let's do some introduction classes, right? Introduction to this, introduction to that. So I did, and I fell in love with introduction to mass communications. So that's what I ended up getting my bachelor's in, the bachelor's of communications or something along those lines. So that's what I ended up graduating with, and that's what I ended up going into. So,
Very cool. Thank you for, I really appreciate the like honesty and realness of this. Like to, that you go back and you try to like start the thing that you had initially started and just it's so overwhelming and like all that emotion that comes with that. Like I thank you for sharing that. And I think it's fantastic that you found something that you did fall in love with. Like you actually, it's not just like, oh, I'm settling for this, but no, you really enjoy this. It sounds like if you decided to
yes.
go into it and you were able to pull off such good grades with it, you must have enjoyed it and like gotten into it. So, um, that's awesome. So is that are you working in that field right now?
So, so kind of. The degree, helped me get my foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
So I did have an internship my final semester. Well, I guess it would be the fall semester. I had an internship with the company I'm working with now. And I had an internship with them. And then obviously when I applied, you had to have, at that time, you had to have a college degree. So I was obviously finishing my college degree, but I did end up getting it. And so that got my foot in the door. So yes, so I do. So I work in the IMC department, which is Integrated Marketing Communications Department. Um, but so I started out, my first internship was print shop label coordinator. And since then, I have changed roles, changed positions to now I am the fulfillment clerk too. And what I do there is communication and there is stuff that I use my degree for with my job. So yes, so I would say that I'm very glad that I went back and got my degree in, you know, um, mass communications. So I do use that today.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing all of that. I would love to hear about the foundation that you started. Can you tell us about how that came about, what you guys do? Like I just want to hear it all.
Yeah, yeah. So whenever I was obviously injured, but then when I was getting better and out of rehab, um I wanted to give back, right? Because I got so much support through my recovery and I didn't, I wanted to pay it forward, right? And I did not want, you know, all the effort and support that went into my recovery to just kind of dissipate. Not that it would, right? But I did not want it to um, just go away in a sense. So I wanted to help other families who, when I was in McGee, I saw, other patients, obviously, and they didn't have the same support system I had. And that really hurt me. I mean, it hurt my feeling. Like, I don't want to sound like, but it
Yeah.
made me upset in a way because I couldn't help them more than how they were getting helped at that moment. So I wanted to start a foundation to help other patients of traumatic brain injury, right, or survivors of traumatic brain injury, or people who have been affected by a traumatic brain injury and or concussion and or head injury, right? So me and my parents started a foundation called the Jackie Lithgow Foundation, and we have that's been going on for it was started in I want to say 23. I can check my notes, but it was started then, and then with that, we help give back to patients of traumatic brain injuries, and we've given to McGee Rehab, which is the rehab place hospital I went to, and we've given to the Penn State Department of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation for TBI research. We've also given back to the Geisinger Medical Center and also the Brain Injury Awareness of PA conference scholarships we've given to people who have attended there. And then also the TBI Synapse Retreat scholarships we also given out. So far, we've really given out some money to help other traumatic brain injury survivors along, because I know on the Glasgow Coma scale is how they rate, your injury. So I do believe on mine was definitely, I think it's 1 to 3, I think, or 1 to 4 or something like that. So I was the most severe. So I was at the very top of mine. But we help people, throughout whatever their injury was, on the rate or on the range of the Glasgow Coma scale. But yeah, so that is something that I'm very proud of, that we have been able to do is help other survivors.
Oh, I love it so much. So you're helping people, like it sounds like you're giving to the foundations and providing scholarships for them to give to people who can come and access their services. Is that right?
So for instance, the TBI Synapse Retreat Scholarship. So the TBI Synapse Retreat is a program put on, somewhere else, but we have given money to people attending those retreats,
Uh-huh.
if that makes sense.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And then we've been giving money to McGee Rehab for um to the fourth floor, which is the brain injury floor. So we've given money to them. So I'm very happy with how that's going.
Yeah, I love that. That's so awesome. And I assume, is it so it's a foundation, it's a nonprofit. Can people, do you just raise money? Do you don't have, like, how do you get the money to donate to these guys?
Right. So we did get approved. We are a 501(c). So we have been approved. We got that number through the government. So we do have a website. So the website, I did attach the website, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
we'll put it in the show notes for sure.
Yeah, lithgowfoundation.org. And you can go to events page for more info on that. But we do have 2 events that we have during the year right now. We already had the golf tournament this year, but the next year's golf tournament is on May 15th in 2027, and that's at a local golf course in PA. And then also there is this year we still have coming up the walk 5K walk run roll. So that one is on September 20th, and that's at Shank Park, which is in Hummelstown, which is also in PA, at 1 p.m. So all that information can be found on our foundation website if you go to the event page. But also, yes, I do believe if you go to the foundation website, there is a lot of stuff there. I know there's an events page, obviously. There's a press page where you can see most of, if not all of, the press I've gotten through my recovery. And whether it's on TV, I was on TV a couple times, whether it was on I did have, but anyway, yes, all that is on the website, and so you can find it there. And then I do believe you can on the website you can, if you feel like donating, you can donate anything monetarily, from $1, all the way up to whatever you want to do. But anything, any monetary contribution is greatly appreciated, and it is very thankful for everything, and all the money raised for me during my recovery was, a godsend. So been very blessed for that. And I wanted to, like I said before, pay it forward, right? So all the money that goes into the foundation, we use to help other traumatic brain injury survivors. So.
So beautiful. I thank you. And yes, we will put that information in the show notes so people can access that and check it out. I just think it's so inspiring, and again, just a beautiful thing that you recognize the generosity of others and then want to return that and make it available for other people. It's so needed. I feel like this is again an injury that is not well understood, and people don't generally have a good feel for what it means if somebody's had a head injury just in general, but yeah, depending on how severe or whatever, it really is so impactful for a person's life, and to see you like making a difference for people, I think that's just really awesome. So thank you for that. And I'm curious if you well, how you're doing now. Like, obviously you've graduated from college, you're working, like things seem to like you're doing much better than you were. Are there any things that are still lingering that are challenging, or how do you feel like you're doing overall?
Yeah, overall, I would say you're doing a lot better, obviously from where I started. But yeah, but I mean, I still do struggle, um, with memory issues, and memory issues, I would say, and speech. I would say I still struggle with speech. I still notice that there are times when I'm talking and maybe I'm not making sense to people and or the words aren't coming out clearly.
Mhm.
So I sometimes have to remind myself to, slow down my speech and or be more articulate with my speech. And I have that's one thing I noticed that I still am working on. And I mean, I still am working on a lot of things that, my life now, basically regular life, and this is when I talked to one of my doctors is, they said, well, now that you're done with all these therapies, now your therapy is regular life, right? Is your day-to-day life. So
Yeah.
my day-to-day life is my therapy now. So whether that's getting in the car, driving, going to my job, right, driving back, I have, a 6-month-old puppy. So,
Oh, sure.
taking care of the puppy, walking the puppy, etc., right, is my new normal. And that is my therapy, that I have, day to day. But struggle wise, I mean, memory, I said that. Uh, I sometimes walking, I will be honest, walking sometimes can be a challenge, and that's more or less with my balance. Sometimes I get off balance and I have to slow myself down. But other than that, I mean, always try to, improve myself on a daily basis. But yeah, I mean, I think that is I mean, always constant struggles with that. And I always will, have, you know, I don't want to say always have struggles with stuff, but with my brain injury, they say that with a brain injury, no matter what it is, right? But it's the silent disease or the silent, I don't know the exact terminology I'm looking for, but it's something that I was always told, and through my research, that it's something that when people look at you, if there's nothing wrong with you physically, right, they don't know that you suffered a traumatic brain injury, right? So,
Yep.
so I would say, that is sometimes hard. for me is not being, which I like, right? That I'm back to normal, and that's what I wanted to be. I'm not normal, but I'm back to walking again, talking again, moving again, all the stuff that I wanted to accomplish or achieve, I have, right? And so I'm very thankful, for the position that I'm in, and I know it was work, hard work that got me here, but also I know that there is no stopping, right? And it's always going to be something that I will have to work on and or consistently do. But it is frustrating at times because whether it's at work or whether it's personal life, right? Whenever I just take things a little bit slower. I mean, like I eat slower now, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just I notice that I eat slower now, and I do things at more like, how you can change like the speed on like a podcast or whatever it may be. Like I feel like sometimes I go at like 0.75, right? Or 0.50 because that's kind of my new life. And I try not to get frustrated myself, but sometimes I do because, my brain isn't going as fast as I would like it to go. Which happened in therapies was that I would try and do something, but my brain wasn't interacting with my body part particularly the right way. So I would say, for instance, with occupational therapy, I remember my therapist wanted me to pick up a ball with my left hand, and so I did. And I looked at my left hand. I was telling it to let it go, let the ball go, but it wouldn't do it, right? So I mean, it just took time. But that doesn't happen per se now. But there are things that I say, tell my body to do that sometimes it won't do full speed. So.
Mm. Thank you so much for being so real about this. Tell me, if you would, what you feel like, what do you, I mean, sometimes we just have to feel frustrated. Like that's totally fair and normal and okay. But are there things that you have come to like realize or phrases that you go to? Like what helps you in those moments where you're like, oh, this is just not working the way I want to? Like how do you manage that emotionally, mentally?
Yeah, so I know, during my therapies and stuff, I did do yoga therapy. So so I know that I want to say helped me, and that helped me realize that sometimes you just need to take a deep breath, right? And you just need to relax, sometimes take a time out, right? Like if it's at work or something and I seem to be getting frustrated, sometimes I'll just go to the bathroom and just kind of decompress there and or go to a room that's empty, right? And decompress there. But yeah, I mean, I try not to get whenever that happens, I think um, realizing it is key because
Yes.
whenever you realize it, then you can understand what you need to do to help yourself relax and or take time to yourself to just be okay with the present, right? And understand that we talked about small victories, right? And it's usually the small things that I tend to, I try not to get worked up over them, right? Because they're just small things. But if you let the small things build up, then it becomes a bigger thing. So I try to just take a deep breath and or leave the room or situation that I'm in and go somewhere else to just kind of relax and kind of decompress myself.
Ah, so good. That's so good. It reminds, I actually was on a walk this morning with a friend who teaches mindfulness courses to the elementary students in the area here. And we were talking about this kind of stuff and just, she pointed out like that awareness, like you said, that if we're, this is one of the, I think, powerful benefits of a mindfulness practice or kind of meditation stuff where you're like just aware of your body and your internal state and that just yeah, knowing that you're off is the first step to doing something about it. Otherwise, it just kind of like snowballs into a huge ball of frustration, right? So I appreciate that, and I love your the things that help seem to be, I mean, this is across the board, whether you have a brain injury or not, taking a deep breath, taking a time out, like decompressing, those are all so, so important. So thank you for the reminder. This is all very good. And you mentioned before that invisible injury part of this whole thing.
Mhm.
I'm curious if you've come to, uh, well, how do you handle that? Like, do you tell people, at what point do you tell people, hey, I've had this injury? And I just know that this can be a question for a lot of people, you know, dealing with concussion or probably I don't know, maybe more severe traumatic brain injuries tend to, maybe people have heard about it. Like it's been a big thing in your past. And so maybe people know, but when you're meeting new people or you're going to a job interview or whatever, like at what point do you, for you, have you found to feel right to say something, or how do you bring it up if you want to?
Right. So I think, as we both talked about, my walking, my gait is back to what it's supposed to be and all that stuff. So I do remember when I got my job, my manager obviously knew about it, because we went to the same we went to the same high school, but he was older than I was, by a couple years. But I mean, everyone, in my hometown, knew, and they raised money for me, so I'm very thankful for that. But everyone in my hometown knew, and this is, the next town over from, my parents live in Carlisle, and where I stayed, so it was local, so so my manager knew, right? And we were talking, and but at when I went to work, I mean, it was a little bit of a challenge in a sense, because I wanted to, I am, I like to think, that I'm not, I don't want to use the word normal per se, but, I am back, to where I can have normal conversations with people. And so I would say, like, I think, a lot of people knew, and that's the other hard part, is because I don't know who knows about my journey or story and who doesn't. So I don't want to belittle them and say, oh, do you know about my story? Or, whatever you want to say. Um, but yeah, but I think, it was a gradual process. So when I meet new people, I think, I don't come out and say it right away. It's kind of a thing that'll come up in conversation if it does. Um, and then it'll take a little bit of time. I mean, I remember when I was in college, it was a little bit challenging, because it was not that I wasn't happy with it, right? But I knew that, telling them, oh, I suffered a traumatic brain injury, maybe they would think of me differently, right? So those thoughts always went through my head. But I never kind of let them get to the forefront, because, ultimately you are who you are, right? And and I view myself as Jackie 2.0, right? So there was a Jackie before my injury, and now I'm like the 2.0 version. So whether that's improved all the way, I don't think so, but it's like, so yeah, so I like to call myself, Jackie version 2.0. So I've come to realization that, this is who I am, and it's my story to tell. So I will tell, people, and I won't jump into it. Like I said, I won't say, oh, wait, I suffered traumatic brain injury, February 23rd, 2014. Like, I won't, I won't come out and say that right like that. But if it comes up in conversation, I will say something. But also, like I said, I'm, on speed, 0.75 or zero point 0.5, right? So, I will let people know that I may take more time to eat. That is not anything that you need to worry about, or I just want you to be aware of that. And or like, if I've gone out to breakfast with some high school friends, right? And I've had to say, I know, you may be done eating before I am. I don't want you, to think that that's wrong, right? Or to think that you're eating, whatever it may be. But I just want you to know that, there are things now that I am slower at than I was before, which I'm okay with, right? And I want you to know that it's gonna be like that. So,
Yeah. I think that's such a good example. And that's kind of the context of the question. Yes. And I was more on the lines of people who are, I just read things in discussion groups or whatever, like if they're currently suffering with symptoms and they're not sure like how to tell somebody like, oh, this thing makes me feel this way or whatever. Like I feel sick if I've been into like too much bright light or whatever, right? Like, so I think that example is a really good example of like, hey, just so you know, like I'm operating at a different speed right now and I'm okay. Like I love that you're okay with it and you're okay telling people and saying I'm okay with it. Like I think that's such a beautiful example of yeah, kind of that like this is how I am right now and this is okay. It's so good. It's so good. So thank you for all of that. And I would love to hear um any like if you could go back in time or and talk to yourself early on, or if you were to have a message for somebody who's dealing with, earlier stages of dealing with a brain injury, what advice would you have for them?
yeah, I would say, be patient, and because nothing, especially, after suffering a brain injury or concussion or whatever it may be, things are going to be different, right? And you may not know, what is different, but things are going to be different, whether it's any facet of what was you were used to before the injury or the concussion or whatever it may be. But definitely be patient. Patience, I don't want to sound like a tagline, right? But patience is a virtue. And be patient. Do not get frustrated. I know it's hard, right? Not to get frustrated, if so things aren't going your way. But it's just one thing that you just kind of have to push through, is the frustration. Because it will get better, and um I will say, also, every look at everything as a small victory, right? So whether you, I don't know what situation, but anyway, whatever situation the person may be in, whether it's, walking for the first time or whether it's eating for the first time again after an injury or whatever it may be, just, you know, recognize every small victory because that will help, keep the positivity going, but also, help you build small victories into, bigger victories. So I would definitely say that. Um, yeah, if I could go back, I would definitely say those things. And, it takes time. And obviously that goes with the patience. Um, yeah, I would just say, just be patient, and trust. I know, trust in the process, and listen to, the therapist and or whoever is helping you, because I would say that that definitely helped me, was listening to my therapist, and, take everything in, but also make your own decisions, right? So, listen to what everyone says, but also do what you think is best for yourself. I will say that. But usually that's always, always what people are telling you and what they're saying, but don't push yourself. I would say that. Because whenever you push yourself too far, then you can end up hurting yourself, right? So just make sure that you know your limits, and then just don't push those limits, because like I said before, it could end up being worse than it was.
Mm.
So
Thank you. And so it's so hard, like all of this. And I just all like, it's so funny how I think sometimes our advice even itself is contradictory. Like do this, but also don't do this. Like we have to like, it's a balance. It's finding a balance of in everything, I feel like. So this, yeah, I appreciate that, those pieces of advice for people, and hopefully people can take that and get some encouragement from it and remember that yes, it takes time, but it will get better. I love that, especially. Do you have I spoke with somebody recently who talked about her experience with head injury as a gift wrapped in suffering, which I actually really love that phraseology, and would be interested. It sounds like, you're Jackie 2.0. Like there are things that you have found, on this really, really long, really drawn out, really challenging. I'm not trying to discount any of that. Like it sucks. It's so hard. But as you're on this other side of it and looking back, are there gifts that you found? What lessons or like things that you've gained from this experience that you would like to share with people?
Yeah, I mean, I think, a lot, but I think that, one thing is, don't get frustrated with the little stuff, right? And don't get too worked up over the little things that happen, because then, well, I'll say, don't focus on the negatives, and don't waste your energy on negative thoughts and or negativity, because that's just wasted energy, because that won't do you any good, and that'll just end up wasting your time. I think, focus on the positives, focus on any little thing that you can find that may, boost your morale and or help you get through the day. I will say that, for me personally, I, really cherished, and recognized, right? I think recognition, is also key. Um, and recognize the small victories that you have, and also, make sure that you celebrate those small victories, because they are, going to help you in the recovery back. And whether that, if it's a concussion or whatever it may be, um, things will probably change, right, for you. But just know that, it's always going to get better, as long as you put in the work, and you do the things that you're supposed to do. It's going to get better. And, my big thing is I just want to preach positivity, right? And you just always, have to find, a positive in thing. And, I think that's something, that I have taken, from this whole my whole recovery process and injury is, be positive. Because like I said before, negative, you can't waste energy on negativity. And yeah, I think that, be positive is crucial, and that'll help you go a long way in your personal life and in your career, if if that's what you chose to do, well, whatever you chose to do. But yes,
Yes.
so
Yes. Amen to that. It is, that it can make all the difference when our mindset is leaning positive and the negative. I love how you phrase it, that it's wasting your energy if you're staying in the negativity too long. And I want to just acknowledge, I think it's okay to acknowledge that things are hard, and there's a difference between staying in and like, I don't know, indulging in maybe, or wallowing in negativity. Like there's a difference between that and being like, recognizing this is so hard, feeling negative sometimes. That's like normal part of existence. But then like to like getting help if you need help, or like doing the things like you were saying, like take a break, decompress, like take like take action to get yourself out of that, because that really will impact your recovery. It impacts everything. So thank you for all of
yeah,
that. Um,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Were you going to say something else about that?
Yeah. So through going through, what I did have, and I know this is a big issue, is mental health, right? And when I went through my injury, when we got home, I still was, struggling a little bit with mental health, and I actually, I have, I have faith and I believe in God, and whether people do or not is their choice. But that's what I grasped onto, was my faith. And one night, I had planned, I had planned out, my suicide, and I had, planned it out. I thought about it multiple days, and it was a big moment in my life because I was struggling. Obviously, I had gotten back and I was in therapy, but I was struggling, whether it was on some medications I was on or whatnot. But I was struggling. I mean, I knew I had my parents, my family. I knew I had the support system I had, and I did not, ultimately, I did not want to let them down, right? So ultimately, that night, I prayed, and I said, said what I needed to say, and then I didn't have those thoughts again, right? So that was a big moment for me, was because I put my trust and trust and faith. And I understand not everyone, is a faithful person or, believes in God or whatnot, and that's okay, but I think it's good to have something, to fall back on if you need, support or help, and whether that's family, but also be open about it, right? And which can be very hard, right? I understand that. But I think being open, about your struggles, whether you're a male, female, whatever you may, whatever, I think you should be open about your mental health, because there is support out there, right? More support than you can ever know. And, whether that is going to see a therapist, whether that's talking to your significant other, your parents, or your siblings, or your son or daughter, or whoever it may be, there's always someone who's going to be there, who will want to listen. And I know they have, obviously the suicide hotline, and a bunch of different resources, right, that you can use to help with mental illness. But I think, I know I preach positivity and all that stuff, but I also do know, that mental illness, there is also, a negative side to mental illness, right? Or mental health, right? So I know that, that is a big thing. I mean, it always should be, a priority, right? And I feel like sometimes people put it on the back burner, and like they get back from work and they're like, oh, I'm not having a good day, or they get done with their therapies and like, oh, I'm not having a good day. But just know that it's just one day, right? And the next day will be better, and the next day, there will be a next day, right? And that's, something that, I think people, need to be, not need to be, but I think it should take more priority than people give it, per se. So,
Yeah, that was so beautifully said. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, especially because, like you said, you preach positivity, you recognize the value in that and how important it is, but you've also seen that significant dark side. Like it's not like you're just saying, "Oh, let's always be positive." Like you know the other side of it, and that's the lesson that you take from this, and also that turning to faith thing. I just really appreciate you sharing all of that. It's very real, and hopefully will be helpful for people to hear. It reminds me again of the conversation that I had this morning about with my friend. I was talking about how healing happens in connection, and like you said, like turn to family, turn to friends. Like there is help out there. Please, please, you're not in this alone. Find, like, reach out. And this is the first time I'd said this out loud, but this is honestly what I feel and what I believe. And so I'm going to say it out here because it's not something that I usually say. But in my mind, like when I say healing happens in connection, that can be connection with yourself, with other people, with your higher power, with nature, pets, animals, right? Like we need connection for that mental, emotional, and other well-being. Like it really makes a huge difference. But in my mind, I think that faith in that higher power, like the connection with God, if you want to call him that, or you like however you want to think about it, having connection with some greater power than yourself really, really, in my opinion, is the number one thing that can make a difference. And so I really appreciate you sharing that your experience where in my mind, God can change our hearts and our minds. He's the only one who can actually like change it. And it doesn't always happen immediately or how we would like it to, but it is possible. So I appreciate you sharing that. And but yes, if otherwise, like if that's not an option for you right now, like reach out to the other connections that are in your life, reach out to other people and in all of it, like always do all of them if you can. I think that's the best way. But I do really appreciate you sharing that and your experience there. So thank you. Anything else? We've had a really good conversation here. Anything else that you want to make sure gets said, or if people want to learn more about you or your organization, how can they do that?
Yeah, so you can, my foundation website, obviously you can go to that. That has, like I said, all the information you would need, on resources. We have a resources page on there. And we also, there's a lot on the foundation website. You can check out my story if you want to learn more about my story or what happened to me. You can feel free to do that on the website as well. And or you can donate if you want to donate. Don't feel like you have to at all. But if you can, it'd be greatly appreciated. But yeah, no, I would just say, just go and, check out my stuff, the website if you feel like it. There's a lot of stuff on there. But yeah, no, I mean, I would just say, try and stay positive, right? Because, you know, I don't know who originally said it, but every day above ground is a great day, right? And that's something that I, kind of that's the phrase I can held on to in my recovery, because that reminded me that, tomorrow, if today's not good or, if today's not the day you wanted, make tomorrow a better day. Right. So that's what I kind of did. And I think that helps out really anybody. Right. And I think, that's something that you can use to help get through the day. And if the day isn't going well, just know tomorrow will be better, right? And, if you're struggling with mental illness at all, there is help out there for you. And don't feel ashamed, right? If you're, no matter who you are, male, female, doesn't matter, right? Of who you are, or they, them, I don't, there's all different pronouns these days, that, are out there. So everybody, under the bubble, of whatever, you want to be called. And I mean that in the most sincere way, because everyone has, emotions and feelings, and everyone, deserves, to have the support, that they need. So.
Yeah. And every human life matters. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Everybody matters. If you hear this, please know you're loved and the world needs you. So thank you for being here and let's keep it that way.
Yes.
And I do appreciate that the idea of like, okay, let's just keep doing this. I just have to share one more thing if that's okay. I put an email out that where I quoted one of my a former client of mine, and I did an interview with him recently. I can put that in the show notes as well. But he talks about how like his mantra when he was having trouble sleeping was just like, it's just one night, and like it's gonna be okay. It's just one night, kind of like what you were saying. And I put an email out and I got a response from somebody who said that he'd started doing something similar. He said, this is just one day in my life, not the end of my life. And he said that had helped him in a lot of moments where his mind wanted to catastrophize with like always and nevers and when all of that. So I just think that's an important like point to make again. And just emphasize what you said, like it's just one day, it's okay. We're going to move past this day and it's going to be different the next day. So
Yes.
Good reminders. So thank you so much for what you're doing for the foundation you started and just being an inspiration to all of us. I appreciate getting to know you. Thanks, Jackie.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me on, Bethany.
I'm so glad you listened in today. I hope you have gained some helpful insights and inspiration regarding dealing with and recovering from concussions. My goal is to create more awareness and education about concussions and the fact that there is so much that can be done to improve life after someone has had one. Help me spread the message by liking, commenting, rating, and subscribing to this podcast, and share it with others who would benefit from hearing it. There are more resources available on my website. And again, if you or someone you love would benefit from concussion coaching, sign up for a free consultation using the link in the show notes or at my website, www.theconcussioncoach.com. Thank you. See you next time, and take good care of that amazing brain of yours.